You're listening to the Wrestling Basement Podcast. This podcast has not been sanctioned by the New World Order.
Hey everyone, this is Guy Evans, author of Nitro, The Incredible Rise and Inevitable Collapse of Ted Turner's WCW, and you are listening to the Wrestling Basement Podcast.
Welcome to a brand new edition of the Wrestling Basement Podcast here on the Cruz Control Podcast Network. As always, I'm joined by a great friend of mine and my co-host, Mr. Graham Matthews from both Bleacher Report and FanSided Daily DDT at Wrestle Rant on Twitter. Graham Matthews, my man, how you doing?
Doing great, Randy. How about yourself?
Doing good, man. Can't complain. When we talk about the basement, I got to go to you. We had some throwback old retro conversations, and we'll have that in a second. You can follow me on Twitter and IG at Randy J. Cruz, R-E-N-D-Y. The letter J is C-R-U-Z. Find the podcast on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube.com/Cruise Control Podcast. So, Graham, we kicked off the new season last week with the WrestleMania main event draft. That was interesting. Of course, I'm going to say I won. You're going to say you won. But overall, a very interesting draft. I'm still trying to get some time to carve out to kind of watch majority of those main events because I have not seen those main events in a very long time. So hopefully you do too. For those who have not heard it, go ahead and check it out. It's on, as I mentioned, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and all that good stuff. Today, we're going to talk about we're embarking on the 25th anniversary of the 1997 Royal Rumble. So I know when people hear 97 Royal Rumble, it's not, the end-all be-all of Royal Rumbles. It ain't the GOAT, but what people need to know and understand is that it kind of spearheaded different directions of where the company would go for an individual, how the company would be laid out and portrayed and presented. The last Royal Rumble of that WWF new generation gimmicky era as we know it. Before I go further, because this is my kind of time frame, my wheelhouse. When's the last time you saw the 97 Royal Rumble, Graham? A very long time.
Probably several years. I tend to go back and rewatch multiple Rumbles every Rumble season. This is definitely not in that conversation because I don't like the match itself. I've seen every Rumble. I just probably haven't seen it in a good probably 5 or 6 years. It's been a while.
So when I mentioned 1997 Royal Rumble, what do you recall most? What stands out? What pops into your head about that Rumble?
Maybe I'm mixing it up, but I feel like it was just the epitome of factions. Like, was this the Rumble where we had like the DOA and shit like that, or was that another one? Was that the 98 Rumble?
No, the Godwins were in there. We still had fake Razor, fake Diesel was in that time frame. The Nation was involved.
Okay.
I'm not sure about DOA at that point. I think DOA was the year after in 98.
I might be mixing this up with the 99 one too.
Yeah.
Because that one was notoriously terrible, but that's a different podcast for a different time.
Yeah.
As far as this one, I mean, obviously the winner, I think of that one. And kind of, as you mentioned, kind of the, building the bridge between the Attitude Era. It wasn't exactly the Attitude Era yet, depending on who you ask. Vince hadn't really ushered that in until later on in 97, but the last one of a certain era, I would certainly say that. So it is significant for that alone, among many other things, I would say.
For what I remember, I know we'll get into it. 97, talk about January of 97. We're coming across where Bret Hart has returned 2 months prior. You have Psycho Sid as the world champion. Rocky Maivia is not the Rock yet.
Yeah,
you have Stone Cold there, but he's still trying to find his way. Even though months after that King of the Ring victory, at this point, Shawn was on top of the world. Still a big man kind of company. They got the Sid, Taker, Vader. Taker and Mankind still had that rivalry going on. a lot of tag teams, factions you mentioned, Nation Domination. Intercontinental title was a prominent title at that time. I think Ahmed Johnson was the champion. I could be wrong, but still a high profile kind of class for Intercontinental champions. McMahon was still doing commentary. And I think that's the last time McMahon did a Royal Rumble. I'll always be a fan of McMahon on commentary, even though some could think he's over the top and doesn't really add much to it. But I think, having McMahon, Jerry Lawler, and Jim Ross on commentary is one of the best. It's not Gorilla and Bobby Heenan and JR and Lawler, but McMahon was pretty good. Better than what people say about him. Royal Rumble. I think that's the first stadium for Royal Rumble.
Oh, was the Alamo Dome?
Alamo Dome, yeah.
Yeah.
San Antonio.
Yep.
And I think that was the first stadium show, not just for a Rumble, but for anything in a while. I'm trying to remember the last stadium show they had for an event.
Prior to that,
I think what
was it
I
92?
know SummerSlam 92 was Wembley. 93, I'll talk about big stadium, not outdoor. I know WrestleMania 9 was outdoors. 10, 11, 12 was indoors. 13 was indoors. But I don't remember nothing else prior to that being outdoor in a big fucking stadium.
Yeah, no, 92 SummerSlam was probably the last stadium show they did. I don't know why the 97 Rumble. I don't know why they did a stadium for that one specifically, but it was definitely the first for the Rumbles as far as that's concerned. They've done a few since, but now they're doing baseball stadiums. But yeah, it definitely was notable.
Yeah, that was weird because unless they knew Shawn Michaels was going to be become champion again, and he's from San Antonio, they say, hey, fuck, let's do Alamo Dome. And that was the home court for the Spurs and stuff like that. So the Spurs ain't had no arena at that time. It's like, oh, we're in a fucking dome. Let's might as well do it. So very interesting time as a fan growing up and looking at that. Again, we're at the very end of that new generation, gimmicky, lighthearted, just for kids only, occupational wrestlers type of era. And you mentioned earlier, it bridged the gap into the Attitude Era a year after. So when you look at it, it's a big difference from 97 to 98, like a complete 360. And again, it's much needed. They're in that war with WCW and Nitro. And it's like, maybe they feel like we can't do this shit no more.
Yeah.
Because when you go into following pay-per-views of Final Four, WrestleMania, and stuff like that, they start tweaking things here and there. But I think 97 Royal Rumble is like what I mentioned, SummerSlam 92 was the end of the golden era. Royal Rumble 97 is the end of that new generation and gimmicky era, bar none.
Mm-hmm. And that'd be a good way of putting it. I mean, would you say the Rumble specifically or 97? Like, what about would Mania kind of kick off that Attitude Era in your opinion then?
I think there's many variations of saying when the Attitude Era kicked off. What was the initial spark? People are going to say Montreal Screwjob. It's like the epitome. All right, now we're up and running. Yeah. But you sing Stone Cold's speech at King of the Ring. You see the Bret Hart Steve Austin match at WrestleMania 13. You see the Hell in a Cell. Like there's a lot of things that led up to the official beginning. DX forming. It's just I don't think there's a clear cut answer to when the Attitude Era officially started. There's no official start date.
Yeah.
But there are things that led up. But I think just the Rumble pay-per-view itself, you could see it from a month later, Final Four. It's a completely different show. Yeah.
No, it is. I mean, it's a totally different show, especially going to that year's WrestleMania and the kind of vibe they were going for, and obviously the continuation of the Stone Cold Bret Hart feud, and that whole thing with Shawn Michaels being in the mix and whatever, so being taken out of the mix by WrestleMania. Definitely an interesting time period in WWE. I mean, with all the top players, as we're going to get to as well, especially in the final 8, like a lot of these people going on to have incredible careers in WWE. This was really the Rocket debut just a couple months earlier, too. I think we forgot to mention that at Survivor Series in 96.
Wow.
I don't know if he was in the match itself, but I know he had debuted 2 months earlier. I'm sure he was on the show in some form or fashion. But, Triple H kind of got his feet under him in 97 as well. So, winning the King of the Ring that year. So, 97 was a pretty pivotal year. Not my favorite year in WWE history, but a pretty pivotal year nonetheless.
Yeah, you know what? 97, I think the latter part is where shit picked up. As you mentioned, the Bret Hart Stone Cold rivalry is going on. The beginning part was more like, it's whatever.
Yeah.
But then, and we'll get to when Shawn gets hurt. It's supposed to be Bret and Shawn rematch at WrestleMania 13. If that happens, we don't get Bret and Stone Cold at WrestleMania 13. So that day is like, yo, a bunch of what ifs are coming out of that show, right?
Yeah, WrestleMania was drastically changed. I don't know if that was always the plan for what match. I don't know if they knew by this point what they were doing at WrestleMania, and if they did, then I assume at least one of those matches that changed. I don't think they were planning on Shawn and Bret by that point. I think they were already kind of set on Bret and Stone Cold and the Taker and Sid stuff and everything else. Everything was in a state of flux at that point in time, I would say.
Like you mentioned, The Rock did debut 2 months prior at Survivor Series, so he was in the match. He was in the actual Rumble.
All right.
Who else was in the Rumble? I'm gonna tell you. Wow. First of all, the card. Hunter Hearst Helmsley, not even Triple H at that time.
Yep, hadn't changed over yet.
He beat Goldust in an Intercontinental Championship match.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna say Triple H. Triple H had Mr. Hughes on his side, and Goldust had Marlena.
Mr. Hughes. Yep.
Wow.
That was pre-China.
Pre-China. China did not. She didn't show up to August of 97?
Yes, July or August, I think. Yeah, one of the two. It was that summer. Because she was there with him for SummerSlam when he faced Mankind.
Oh, was she there for 13? WrestleMania 13? Was she?
I don't think so.
I know she came from the crowd. She was in the crowd. And did she bear hug Marlena or some shit like that? And she just fucking grabbed her out of nowhere.
Wait, did Triple H face Goldust that year at WrestleMania?
In
or
13?
This show? Actually, he faced him on this show.
Yeah, Rumble, it was Hunter and Goldust. WrestleMania 13, I don't know until I look it up who Hunter faced.
Was it Owen?
It might have been. Hold on. Let me see something.
He faced Owen one of those years.
Grant got me working right now. Hold on.
Yeah, I know. Now I'm confused. That show was in the summer. But she did debut by Attack.
Hunter Hearst and Goldust. So it says Hunter Hearst with China defeated Goldust with Marlena at WrestleMania 13.
So they had a rematch from the Rumble?
Yeah.
Wow, that's weird.
We had Ahmed Johnson defeated Farouk.
Okay.
Vader defeated The Undertaker. Wow.
Interesting. That was right after he debuted as well. Or no, well, I'm sorry. No, not right after. He had debuted in early 96. He was already there for about a year by that point.
We had Shawn Michaels beat Psycho Sid for the world title.
Yep.
How long was that match? 13 minutes. Okay.
The Survivor Series one was great.
Yeah, the Survivor Series is better than the Rumble match.
I would say. I don't remember the Rumble match at all, but I remember the Survivor Series. I mean, I wasn't watching at that point, but going back and watching it, I think the Survivor Series match was far better personally.
And people in New York, I love Shawn, but people in New York hated Shawn that night.
That night, when Jose Lothario got knocked down, they couldn't have given two shits. They cheered.
They were cheering for Psycho Sid like
they
crazy.
Were savages.
And of course, Stone Cold won the Royal Rumble by eliminating Bret Hart. The Stone Cold thing, never saw before. He got eliminated. Referee was not looking. Comes back in, throws out everybody, throws out Bret Hart. He wins. And at that point in time, the way you saw Bret react is like, oh, like he's really fucking tight.
Yeah.
Beyond the character, Bret Hart. Like he's really tight at Vince, and it's like, oh shit, like did Stone Cold really win this the Rumble without nobody looking? Like, what the fuck going
yeah.
on? And me, I'm a Stone Cold fan at now, then, and before, but that was a very interesting twist of how you could win a Rumble without nobody looking.
Yeah, no, it was. I don't think they've ever done anything like that since then, where they've had someone win and then switch them out and whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how I would have felt at the time had I been watching it as a fan, but it was interesting. The thing about that one is that he actually didn't end up getting the title shot, obviously. They had the 4-way pay-per-view the following month, like you said. They ended up, I mean, Bret and Austin was by far the best part of that show. I mean, that should have been the main event. That should have been the title match. Taker and Sid I mean, if the title was, I mean, it wasn't that great of a match anyway, but had the title not been on the line, even less people would have cared. So I feel like that match probably needed it more. But Austin and Hart was the real main event of that show and the best part about it. So that was the real WWE title match to me. But the whole title picture and Shawn losing his smile and Vader's involvement, I mean, it's just weird to think about in retrospect. It was just a mess going into 97. The title had changed hands multiple times on Raw. Going into the show, it was crazy.
I'm going to tell you the 30 participants into this Rumble.
Oh, no.
Crush.
Okay.
Ahmed Johnson.
All right.
Fake Razor.
Waste of a spot. Waste of a spot. Already. Number 3 is usually a good number.
Number 3. You know, the hot spot. Fake Razor coming out.
I know. What a waste.
Phineas Godwin.
All right.
Stone Cold at number 5.
Finally.
Bart Gunn.
Jesus. That was before he won Brawl for All, too.
Brawl for All, yeah. Jake the Snake Roberts.
Okay. Not bad. I'm surprised he was still in the company by that point.
The British Bulldog.
Okay, we got some star power here. What is this, the 80s?
Yeah. Jake Bulldog, you know?
Jesus.
Somebody who I cannot pronounce at number 9. The Sultan at number 10.
The Sultan.
Who later became Rikishi.
Yeah.
For those who don't know.
Yep.
Number 11, Mil Mascaris.
Yep. Alberto Del Rio's uncle, I believe.
12, Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Yep, there we go. Some star power.
13, Owen Hart.
Okay.
14, Goldust.
Not bad.
15, Cybernetico.
No idea who that is.
Yeah, exactly. 16, Mark Merrow.
All right.
17, Latin Lover.
I feel like I feel like 97 was the year they had some of the smaller wrestlers or midget wrestlers, whatever you want to call. I don't know what the exact term is, but
yeah,
you know what I mean. I think they had those like the luchadors, the little like the whatever. Mil Mascaris, I don't think was part of them, but
and this is my point. When you see this Rumble compared to 98, it's like whoa,
yeah.
Like we ain't fucking around no more. This is the last bullshit Rumble we have it. 18 Farouk.
All right.
19 Savio Vega.
Okay.
20 Road Dogg Jesse James.
Was he Jesse James at that point?
Yeah, you still double.
It wasn't Road Dogg.
21 Bret Hart.
All right, not bad.
22 Jerry Lawler.
Oh God.
23 Fake Diesel.
Terrible.
24 Terry Funk.
All right.
25 Rocky Maivia.
Okay, these are pretty good people. Actually,
we're getting there. 26 Mankind.
This is a pretty good lineup for the most part.
27 Flash Funk.
All right, Too Cold Scorpio.
28 Vader.
All right.
29 Henry O. Godwin.
Waste.
30 Undertaker.
That's a pretty good lineup overall, to be honest with you. A lot of good people. A lot of future Hall of Famers right there.
True, but like you said, a lot of wasted spots. You know,
definitely, yeah,
definitely. The question I want to ask is this: we mentioned Shawn. He won the Rumble. He won the belt against Sid, and again, he gets hurt. I guess people could say legit or not. He gets hurt. He has to drop the belt a month later on Raw. I lost your smile, and in real life. It was supposed to be Shawn and Bret in a rematch at WrestleMania 13.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get that. We get Stone Cold and Bret, which is a top 3 WrestleMania match of all time.
Yep.
I'm not even complaining. But We are in the land of what ifs. That's what the show is about. So, Graham, what if Shawn never got hurt and it was him and Bret for the title at WrestleMania 13? Could you try to fantasy book what the fuck Stone Cold would have been doing? What Taker would have been doing? What Sid would have been doing? Would that have lived up to WrestleMania 12 if Shawn does not get hurt and drop the belt? And we have Shawn and Bret at WrestleMania 13 instead of Stone Cold and Bret.
I'm sure it's been said before what Stone Cold would have been doing had Hart and Shawn 2 come to fruition, or the WrestleMania rematch, because they already had a couple matches elsewhere prior to that point. I don't remember though. I'm sure I've read it before because I was curious myself. I assume Shawn would have won. Bret would have won, having, with Shawn winning the year before. Bret was not losing 2 years in a row. I think Bret would have won that rematch. As far as Stone Cold, what does he do? Bret would have won, held on to the championship. Austin could have gone after him in the title coming out of WrestleMania. Him and Taker, maybe. That's a much stronger match on paper than Sid and Taker if it's not for the championship. And that wasn't even all that strong, even with the title on the line. So I don't know I would say you're not going to have Stone Cold lose again, but he lost again to Bret Hart at WrestleMania after losing at Survivor Series already. So, but the thing is, if you don't do him and Hart, then you don't get that sharpshooter spot with the blood rushing down the face and that star-making moment. Does he still have that with Taker? Probably not. Does he become the same star? Probably, because he was that good. So, I don't know. It's interesting. Does he go babyface? Does he turn tweener? Do they have the double turn? No, probably not. So, it would have drastically changed that WrestleMania if we got Bret and Shawn in that main event instead.
And you can't even do Stone Cold and Hunter. You can't do Stone Cold and The Rock. He was not there yet. I mean, like, character-wise, you ain't doing Stone Cold and Ahmed and Goldust. It's Stone Cold for the Intercontinental. Owen Hart. I really don't know where you put Stone Cold.
Well, him and Owen Hart ended up feuding a year or later on in the year, right?
Later
over the
on,
Intercontinental title, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what they would have done, to be honest with you. I'm not sure.
I mean, I'm glad I got Stone Cold and Bret. You can't deny that, but it's always a question mark of what if. Because if that's the case, then who wins the Rumble? Then Bret would have happened to win the Rumble. See, my thing is this. They don't know Shawn's hurt until after the Rumble. So Stone Cold was penciled in to win it anyway.
Yep.
So, like, how do you get Bret and Shawn at 13 if Stone Cold wins the Rumble unless you have the Final Four happen and then Bret wins the Final Four? Because if you recall, Bret fights Sid for the belt the following night on Raw.
I thought it was a couple weeks later, but it was around that point, yeah. In the cage, right?
Something like that, yeah. And Stone Cold makes Bret lose. So it was fucking confusing as hell.
Yeah.
But we finally got to that point. But it's like, man, if you can make shit simple, Stone Cold wins the Rumble, lose the opportunity at the following month, Shawn and Bret at WrestleMania. And then when you see Shawn at WrestleMania, he's jumping, dancing, whatever commentary. Then it's like, yo, is your man like really bullshitting out here? So Bret, it's like, yo, you're a fucking liar.
Uh-huh.
I think he said you and your pussyfoot injury, and then
something like he was talking shit.
Man is covering Shawn at the table, like, yo, don't go nowhere. It just, when you think about it now, it's like, damn, like, wow, Bret was really fucking tight up Shawn.
He was talking mad shit. Yeah, they really hated each other.
Nah, mad shit. The last 8 in that Rumble, I'm not saying everybody.
Yep.
But majority of those people really spearheaded into this new era, which is the Attitude Era for the company.
The Attitude Era, yeah.
We had Terry Funk involved. You know, he became a mainstay in that hardcore era in 98, 99.
And Foley
Mankind would develop into Cactus Jack, Dude Love.
Yep.
He would be in the Rumble 3 times the following year.
Mm-hmm.
The Rock will be...
I mean, The Rock is The Rock. Yeah, obviously.
The Rock will be the second to last man standing in the Rumble the following year with Stone Cold. He's a big player Intercontinental champ, world champion, whatever. Taker would change his whole character around, become champion, all that stuff. Stone Cold, obviously, become a multiple-time champion, Intercontinental Tag Team World Champion. Bret, on the other hand, will become champion again later that year. Had the Hart Foundation feud with Stone Cold.
He won the belt back at SummerSlam, right? No, that was
Taker
Shawn.
at SummerSlam, yeah. Which is
he was champion, yeah.
Which is a very underrated match.
That wasn't Highway from Hell. That was 98, but that was still a good match, though, yeah.
Yeah. Then Bret would go on to leave the company, as we all know. It's always a what if Bret would have stayed. I would have loved for Bret to stay. Him and The Rock, and him and more and Hunter, and him and Taker, him and Stone Cold, and him and Mankind, Kane. Like, just imagine those matches.
Yeah,
gotten except for when he left. I mentioned Kane. He was a fake Diesel. He was on a hiatus. He came back as Kane and fucking a Bad Blood. It's like all Hall of Famers.
Yeah,
involved in that final 8, and it's like, to kind of wrap it up, it's like that people look at this Rumble card, this Rumble night, not the Rumble match, but the Rumble night is like the night where shit changed, and it's like when you're watching as a kid, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And when you reflect back on it now, 25 years later, it's like damn, like, it's just crazy.
It is wild. Just think about it in retrospect. I mean, how much has changed since then? All the stars that a lot of those people would go on to become. The funny thing about this Rumble too is that the Rumble itself, we're not talking about it because it was a great Rumble. I mean, far from it. It wouldn't be anywhere near my top 10. But the significance of it and what stemmed from it was really what made it notable. So you can't say that about a lot of Rumbles, but it did for this one, which is kind of weird in retrospect.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at some point in time, I might check it out. Really see if it was a bad Rumble as most say it is.
I mean, maybe not bad, more so like forgettable, I would say.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly, anyway.
I know 98 was better. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, I don't know, honestly. It probably was. I'd have to go back and watch it.
I think maybe, you know what it could be. I think when you're in a smaller venue, you kind of hear the crowd more and everything. They feel like they're more into it. And when you're watching the Alamo Dome Rumble, it's like, are people cheering? Like,
yeah, they had that big atmosphere feel. Yeah, it just didn't have that same electricity that the other smaller arenas do. Yeah, I agree with that. As the pros and cons there.
Yeah, because like, would you take the 97 Rumble or 99? Which I heard is your favorite.
I mean, obviously 97. Obviously. It's like that. Or would I take the 97 Rumble over a Jinder Mahal WWE title reign? Of course, absolutely.
Yo, you and Jinder got to stop. This is going on too long now. Y'all got to settle this in the ring or something.
I was going to say in the ring, probably not, but I did. I didn't say anything to him, but I met him and interviewed him in person, not per request, but it was just kind of thrown at me when I was at SummerSlam earlier in the summer. I didn't mention the fact, shockingly, I didn't mention that I hated his WWE title reign. He's a decent guy, though. He's a nice guy. I would never tell him that I'm his biggest detractor, but thankfully, I don't think he even knows who I am. So I'm sure I'm flying under the radar as far as that goes, which is good. He hasn't blocked me on Twitter yet. So I don't go out of my way to talk shit to him in person. I think that's kind of shitty. So at least I don't do that. I kid.
Just to wrap it up, I think in comparison from 97 to 98, I think with the company, they changed the intro, they changed the logo, they changed, different sets for pay-per-views. They added Hell in a Cell, they added casket matches, and they added a whole bunch of shit that was not happening. Steel cage matches, of course. They just added a bunch of stuff that was not happening in that company at that time. They kind of went away from just that PG kiddie kind of era. They flipped the script. They had to do that to kind of keeping the race for WCW. They had no choice, which is I respected.
Yeah.
But when you look at that 98 Rumble real quick to kind of get a comparison of like who was involved and what kind of match we had, you had Vader Goldust. You had Okay, this match is terrible. The Rock and Ken Shamrock for the Intercontinental Championship. LOD, the New Age Outlaws.
Yep.
So fucking the Outlaws were born in this Rumble. Stone Cold beat The Rock in the Rumble match to eliminate him, and then Shawn beat Taker in the casket match. That's where Shawn gets hurt. He's out for 4 years. Real quick, the Rumble, Cactus Jack, Chainsaw Charlie, Tom Brandy. I have no idea who you are. The Rock, Mosh, Phineas Godwin, 8-Ball. This is where you talk about DOA.
Yeah, that's it.
Black Jack Bradshaw, Owen Hart, Steve Blackman, D'Lo, Kurgan, Mark Merrow, Ken Shamrock, Thrasher, Mankind, Goldust, Jeff Jarrett, the Honky Tonk Man, Ahmed Johnson, Mark Henry, Skull, Stone Cold, Henry Godwin, Savio, Farouk, Dude Love, Chains, Vader.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little different than from 97. A little different.
I would take 97 over that one. That one sounds like a shit show.
Wow. 97 over 98. All right.
That sounds awful.
Yeah. But 99 is still your worst?
I would have to say so. 99. I don't know if it's the worst, but because 2014 was pretty bad too. 2015 as well, but it's definitely in that conversation, no doubt. Easily. So
I would say that to wrap it up, the 97 Rumble is the do I want to say that? The 97 Rumble was the end of the new generation era.
Mm-hmm.
Bridging the gap for the Attitude Era, which came in a few months after that.
I mean, I've always said that it was Survivor Series. That to me felt like it was the end of that new generation era. I mean, the thing is that we kind of got the Attitude Era before they officially called it the Attitude Era, like you said. Before Vince came on TV and said we're going to introduce more Attitude, we already had that in 97. But I don't know if it was this event specifically. I mean, I always go back. We've talked about this before. I always go back to that Bret Hart promo on Raw, where he was talking shit back in March of 97, where he was talking shit to Steve or in Canada or whatever, to the USA fans. That was kind of the pinpoint for me. I don't know if I would say this pay-per-view exactly, but it was definitely around this time for sure. Absolutely.
Oh, are you referring to when he was cursing out Vince in a steel cage?
Or Vince, yeah, not Austin. Yeah, it was Vince, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was going in. He was
going all fucking in, yeah.
Yeah. But I meant for like an event purpose, because Final Four was Final Four. WrestleMania 13, could that have been?
I'd have to go back and watch it, but maybe. That could have been the catalyst as well. It's subjective. I mean, it really, if you said that one, I don't think you're wrong.
I need people to tell me Royal Rumble 97 or WrestleMania 13 was the end of the new generation era. So
I mean, again, more people will tell you later on at Survivor Series. So I don't know if it's just between those two. There's a lot of
97? 97?
97, yeah, 97, not 96, but people might say 96. People might say Survivor Series. People have said late 96 before, so there's a lot of different answers, really.
Yeah. I don't want to hold you up too long. You're a very busy guy. I know you got work to do, got articles to write. Graham Matthews, always appreciated. Find Graham Matthews on Twitter at Wrestle Rants. Great work for both Bleacher Report and FanSided Daily DDT. Find me on IG and Twitter at Randy J. Cruz, RDNDY, the letter J, CRUZ. To find the podcast, go to SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube.com/Cruise Control Podcast. Give us a rate, comment, download, all that good stuff. Show some love and support for the show. Shout out to Red Bull. Got the cans behind me in the fridge. You guys can see on the video. Big time shout out to them. Graham Matthews, my man, always appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Randy. Looking forward to the next one.
All right, man. Take it easy.